for us, to sustain us, to keep us going, to give us abundance. And we sometimes couple these things together and we use them interchangeably, like we call grace mercy and mercy grace, but they're two very different things and they bring us to different places. But first, before we get into all of that, whoa, hello. I would like you to turn and face somebody so that you can see them directly. You can see all of them, so turn and look at somebody that's closest to you. And I'm going to give you a really simple task, okay? And when you're doing this simple task, I want you to look at each other, yeah? It's very, very simple. So while you're turned and faced somebody, I want you to really quickly fold your arms. If your arms are folded already, take them out, do it again, and show them how good you are at this task. All right. Very good. You did very well at that task. You were very, I loved like some of the like smug look, like, yeah, see how well I did it. Okay, so now while you're watching each other, stay watching each other. I'm going to give you your next task. So your next task is to fold your arms the other way. Go. While watching each other. It's actually John's like. This task, it feels strange to do at the back. It's not that it was dangerous, or it's not that it was hard. It wasn't a difficult task to do. It was just unfamiliar. And what happened was the first time you all did it, we got like Sarah went to Michael, like, no, see, look at that, right? But the second time she went. And she was really concentrating on flipping them around, right? And you heard some people giggled, people were unsure, you were like second guessing yourself, especially because there was eyes on you. So stepping into the unfamiliar when there's eyes on you is hard. It can be a little bit daunting. You can start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. And like going forward now, when you're sitting in public, you're going to go, I'm not going to fold my arms backwards. I'm going to stay where I'm comfortable and go this way. And we automatically step back into what's comfortable, what's familiar, what's known to us. Your brain says this isn't normal, and so you hesitate a little bit. You have to second guess yourself. You're thinking about it. And this is what growth feels like spiritually. So even when it's simple, it's not hard to grow spiritually because we're doing it with God, but it can feel uncomfortable. So we stop and we stay where we're comfortable, we stay where we're familiar, and we stay where we're the expert. Many Christians get comfortable in like one position with God. So when God then asks you to move and suddenly it feels awkward or strange or really uncomfortable, you decide to stay in this position. So instead of growing with God, we go back to the position that we know really well. We go back to how we stand in God. We go back to how we show God to people. We go back to how we serve God best. We go back to how we worship God. I'm not doing it that way. That way is weird. That way is uncomfortable for me. That way is not familiar to me. And so we go back to where is comfortable. So what I want to talk about is that it's exactly like our spiritual walk, you see. And we have mercy and then we have grace. And sometimes we get to mercy, we receive mercy, and we stop there. Because that's where it's comfortable. You're still you, but you're forgiven. You're still you, you're still in your comfort zone, but you don't have any punishment. Billy Graham explains this really well. So remember last week we heard about Billy Graham. He was the little kid that went up to the tent and there was no seats and went walking away. And an usher that we don't know his name chased after him and said, no, I'll find you seats, come back. That little boy was Billy Graham, and here we are using him to explain things today. So Billy Graham explains it that grace is receiving good things that you don't deserve, so unmerited favor. While mercy is not receiving the bad consequences or the punishment that you do deserve. So essentially, mercy withholds punishment and grace bestows blessing. So they're both gifts from God. God gives both freely to you. So the mercy forgives, but grace empowers. In Hebrews chapter 4, verse 16, hang on, I get it. It says, approach the throne of grace with confidence, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in a time of need. Okay, so there's two important things I want us to look at here. So the first thing is that it says, approach the throne of grace with confidence. That's not saying approach the throne of grace with confidence in your abilities to get there, in where you're comfortable and where you're the expert to get there. It is saying with confidence in who God is, because he gives you grace and mercy freely. So we need to approach the throne of grace with confidence, going, I know you're going to give these onto me freely. I know I'm going to be empowered by grace. I know I'm going to move forward. And then the second thing is that grace follows mercy. So it says that we receive grace and we receive mercy and we find grace. So God offers both. Mercy is focused on forgiveness of sin or withholding of judgment. And grace focuses on empowerment, salvation, and receiving spiritual blessings. Billy Graham also uses a story, like his own little analogy, to explain it. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I'm stealing it to use it today. So he explains grace and mercy like this. So if you are in your car and you're going down the motorway and you are speeding, you're going far too fast. And a guard comes along, flashes its lights, pulls you over, and comes up and he's writing you a ticket for speeding. And you're like, guard, please, I'm like broke. I don't have any money and I was in a rush and I'm so sorry. I won't do it again. And the guard says, okay, and rips up the ticket and doesn't give you the punishment. He doesn't give you the fine that you deserve. You deserve it. You were speeding. That's mercy. You didn't get the fine. You should have got it, but he decided to rip it up and not give it to you. That's mercy. But then if you are speeding and you get pulled over and the guard's walking up and he's writing you a ticket and you're like, please, I don't have any money to pay for this. Like, I was late and I'm really, really sorry. And then the guard says, I've already written it now, and so it has to be paid. And then he takes out his wallet and he pays the ticket. And then he says, do you know what? And takes out another €100 and gives it to you. That's grace. Because not only did you not receive the fine of, let's say, €200, I don't know, I've never been caught speeding. No, I've never been caught. So let's just say, so you're not minus €200, you're plus €100. So you have been blessed with €300. That's grace. You didn't receive the punishment and you received more than enough. But what happens with a lot of us is that we stop at mercy. And it's like our human nature to go, so the guard pays my fine and then takes out €100 and I'm like, no, I couldn't possibly take that. You're paying the fine. That's more than enough. No, I'm fine. And so we're stopping it at mercy before we get to grace. And in our human nature, you see, we go into where we're losing value as a human, okay? Because holding value within your community is what's really, really important to people. And so in your head, you're thinking about that guard lives in my town. It's a small town. He knows everybody I know. He definitely knows my mother and father-in-law. And I'm after telling him I've no money. And now he's going to think that I'm not a good provider. And he's going to look down on me. And they're all going to talk about me, that I don't have enough. And so I refuse the blessing because of the fear of losing my value. And so then we remain stuck at grace, and we're happy there, and it's like our position in God. We're happy there. It's like it was good. Like we'll go on and we'll testify and be like, do you know what? I got caught speeding, and my ticket was paid. Hallelujah, amen. Isn't it brilliant? But God had so much more. God had so much more, and we stop it. So the problem is that we stop at mercy because when we're at mercy, it's safe. And it's familiar. I'm still me without the punishment happy days. I know that I'm stuck at mercy, right? When something new comes along from God and I go, it's just not me. It's just not for me. That's not for me. And then I know, oh, I'm stuck at mercy. Because if we're saying that, we're putting ourselves in one position. Doing it your way is not for me. But God maybe needed to do it that way to open up a whole different position for you. A whole different purpose, a whole different calling. But we're stopping at mercy. So the problem with us as Christians is that we receive mercy, but we never fully move into grace. Because we almost have to partner with it. See, we're forgiven, but we're stuck. They reach a moment of breakthrough and then they camp there and they live off of that victory in their walk with God. Mercy and grace are more than enough. Mercy was never meant to be the finish line for you. Getting here and getting positioned with God was never meant to be the finish line. So I want to look at this story of Mephibosheth. So he is the grandson of Saul. So there was Saul, then his son Jonathan, and then Mephibosheth. And when he was 5 years of age, so little Ezra, you see him run around, he's 5 years of age. So when he was 5 years of age, his father and his granddad were killed, right? So Saul and Jonathan were killed. And when a king, so King Saul, when a king was killed, the whole bloodline would have been executed, okay? So that the new king could take over and his bloodline would not be disrupted. So they got word back to the castle, palace, what do you call it where you live? Palace. We got word back there that they had been killed and that they needed to flee. So the nurse that looked after Mephibosheth, she scooped up the little 5-year-old boy and started to run because she needed to go into hiding with this little boy. And as she was running with him, she dropped him. And when she dropped him, he got damage to both of his legs that was beyond repair, so he became a cripple. She got him back up, she got him into hiding, and he lived in hiding. When he lived in hiding, he would have lived his whole life, right? 1, hiding, 2, broken and in poverty. So he would have been in poverty because he couldn't work. He couldn't look after himself. He would have relied on other people to look after him. So his legs were broken and he would have been in poverty, and then he lived in fear of expecting judgment to come because he should have been executed, right? So he probably was always moving around or watching everything, always living on edge because he was expecting judgment. But then David found him, okay? And it would have been David that would have had to kill him. And David found him, and David says, "Do not be afraid." That's mercy. So David's saying to him, don't be afraid. I'm not going to kill you. You're okay. I'm allowing you to live. So that's mercy because he's withholding the punishment that should have been given to him. But then David doesn't stop there. And he doesn't stop there because God didn't stop there with him. David then moves into grace. David says, I want to give you Saul's land back. I want to give you servants to work the land. And I want to give you a permanent seat at the king's table. Now, if I was Mephibosheth, I would have been like, no, do you know, having my life is enough, thanks. In case you change your mind, I'll be going, right? But then I would have had to still live in poverty, right? So then I might think, well, maybe I'll accept some of it. Maybe I'll accept some of the grace that's been bestowed onto me. So I'll take the land and the workers to work it. So now he's no longer living in poverty. So he's no longer living in hiding and he's no longer living in poverty. But everybody who worked on his farm would be looking at him. That's the cripple that can't help us. We have to do all this work for him. He can't do any of it himself. Imagine the town talking about him and all. And so David says to him, to make sure that he has more than enough, I give you a permanent seat at my table. Could you imagine how that would feel? You wouldn't want to go, would you? Because imagine walking into the palace and everybody's sitting to have dinner and you're getting brought up as a cripple, as someone who should have been executed. You're getting brought up to sit right beside the king. And all of them would be whispering about you, going, why does he get to sit up there? And look at him. He doesn't even know how to use the knife and fork. He doesn't even know the table etiquette. He would be exposed. They would question his value of sitting up there. And he hadn't sat at a king's table since he was 5, so he wouldn't have known all the right answers to fit in. But that is grace. It's more than just forgiveness, it's restoration and it's belonging. But Mephibosheth himself didn't even think he deserved to be there, because he says, why should you notice a dead dog like me? That's his response to David. That's how he's seeing himself. He thought he wasn't worth it. He thought he wasn't ready. He would have felt exposed. He would have felt scared. You see, sometimes God gives us grace, but we are still stuck in a mercy mindset, because we don't want people to question our value. But I want you to notice one thing. So when he went and he overcame all them fears, he overcame all that worry and that threat of being undervalued and feeling exposed and not knowing what to do, when he sat at the king's table, this is something that pastors highlight all the time when they talk about his story, is that they couldn't see him as a cripple. The table covered him from the waist down. All that the people could see was his position to the king. So he had to overcome all of this threat of exposure, threat of people knowing that I'm not worth being here, to get up and be positioned by the king. So David goes beyond mercy. When Jesus invites you to the table, we don't just receive forgiveness, we receive more than enough. He would have had to probably eat dinner there a lot of days with whispers happening before he felt comfortable, before he realized they see my position to the king. They're not seeing me as a cripple anymore. We like to stay where we're the experts. We love becoming the experts of the thing that we already know we're pretty good at, right? And so we find that place where we're really good, and then like we roll with it. It becomes our thing. So we stay where we feel competent, even if God is calling us somewhere bigger. I have a video I want to show, and It's from Bulgaria's Got Talent, and this girl shows what I'm saying in another way. Remember, I'm a drama teacher, so I'm more artistic, and okay, so I see it in a different way, so I hope you see it too. But this is trying to show us that sometimes we just stop before we should, okay? It's a bit of a different way of showing it. But we stop just before we're meant to, because we're comfortable at mercy. So this girl, her name is Irina, and as you can see, the tension in this video isn't physical, it's psychological. She is making her way, and her movements, they're not chaotic. She's not like the way you think you would be if you were tired and trying to reach this solution. Her movements are calm and very deliberate. So this suggests a belief rather than desperation. She is bound by ropes, pursuing the scissors and treating it as her key to freedom. The scissors represents a solution, something external that promises release. Then when she gets it, and she's finally made it there and collected the scissors, and she knows how to use it because she used it to release the scissors. Then she puts it in her bag rather than use it on herself. And the bag is filled with more scissors. So this suggests that she's gathered solutions before. She has become an expert at getting the scissors. The restraints remain not because the tools were missing to release her, but because the pattern hasn't changed. You see, we're chasing change through accumulation of things. So it's like if I just get more insight or more strategies or more knowledge while overlooking what actually shifts us to freedom, which is stepping into the unknown, which is scary, which is unfamiliar, which we feel our value gets questioned. You see, if I cut the strings, what next? What then? Who am I? Because right now, I'm the girl you come to if you need to know how to get that scissors. I'll calm you down, I'll reassure you, I'll get you there step by step by step. But if I cut my strings, who am I? I'm no longer the expert in that one position. Right now I value and I can use my knowledge to show other people. See, we are building our identity and our value in how we manage the strings of our life. We're building our identity and our value in our knowledge, in our success, in our ministry, in our how we serve, in our reputation. But Jesus didn't come to bless the version of you that had it all together. He came to help the ones that don't. And mercy and grace is more than enough. See, the reason we're stuck isn't because God stopped giving grace. You're not stuck in one position with God because the grace isn't there for you. It's freely given. It's there for you. It's because stepping into grace sometimes means leaving behind the identity that we've come really comfortable with. But that doesn't mean that we're lost. It might mean that we're growing. And look, it's okay to be here. It's all right to be vulnerable. It's all right to be exposed. It's all right to be scared. It's all right to not have the answer, contrary to popular belief. It's all right to go, I don't know. I can try find out for you, but I don't know. I'm new to this. I'm figuring it out. It's like when I started driving, and everyone who would ask me would go, how's driving lessons going? Oh, I'm crap. I'm so bad. And I thought I'd never get better. It felt like it took me forever, right? And I remember being on the phone to my brother, and I'm like, Wayne, like, I'm really bad. It's so embarrassing. I'm conking out. People are beeping at me. And he said, do you know what you need to tell yourself, Emma? That one day, very, very soon, it will be automatic to you. You won't even think, what's this hand doing? What's this foot doing? I need to check the mirrors. You won't even think about that. You'll just do it. It will become automatic. And he was like, but right now, you're just learning. So it's all right to be in that time. But there's a very, very human reason why we get stuck at mercy, even in our walk with God. It's a brain issue. Let's blame the brain, right? So in our brain, in the very middle of our brain, there's an alarm system, and it's called the amygdala. And that is connected to your eyes, your ears, and all your senses, really. And when it senses danger, what it does is when your eyes or your ears notice danger, it sends a message to your amygdala, which then sends out messages all over the body. So it's like, alert, alert, there's danger coming, quick. So what your body does is it shuts down the prefrontal cortex of your brain, which is the part of your brain that manages critical thinking. It does emotional regulation. It does problem solving. So that shuts down that part of your brain. And then it sends out the signal to the nervous system, which makes your hands shake, your legs shake, your heart race, sweaty palms, dry mouth, all of this stuff. And so it puts us into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And the reason why our bodies did this is because years ago there was real danger, right? So going all the way back, we could have been attacked by animals, we could have starved if we didn't hunt and gather enough food. And so when you were small, like me, not really strong, we relied and looked to relationships for protection. So let's say I'm out and I'm gathering up berries and a lion comes along and my body goes, alert, 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 alert. I look out, I go into hypervigilance, I'm like terrified, I might freeze or I might run, but I look to relationships because I would have needed them people to come and run to my aid, to save me. But what happens is our brain is so good at working this out that the brain knew that nobody would come to my aid if I wasn't valued within this community. Okay? No one's going to run and save little old me. They're not going to send out their best strong people to get hurt to try save me. So if I had no value, I would be left and killed. So my job was to try find value in a community and stay there. Okay? So back then the value was strength. But we have evolved. We have grown, we have changed. Right now, the currency within a community is knowledge. That's the value. That's what we see as being the main thing that's valuable is knowledge. And so when someone asks us something and we don't have the answer, that alarm goes, alert, 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 shuts down everything and you go shaking and you're like, whoa, I'm just going back to where it's familiar and going back to where it's safe because I'm the one that doesn't know the answer, I'm exposed, and that's why our body goes into that. So it's a really human thing that happens. There's different things that we can do when we come up against this in all areas of our life, right? When you come up against that and you're like, no, but I shake and I tremble and I can't go any further, so it's better off I just stay in my lane. I stay where I'm good, I stay where I'm the expert. But I have to coax children onto stage all the time, so I'm always trying to overcome this alert system that happens in young kids when you shove them out onto a stage, because like I said, I'm a drama teacher. So there's different things that you can do. So one of the main things is that you talk yourself through it, right? So you need to highlight that you are aware of what's going on. It's called metacognition, right? Metacognition is thinking about your thinking. And if you show the brain, I know what's going on right now. My heart is racing, my legs are shaking, my mouth is dry, but it's just because this is unfamiliar to me. It will go away. You're telling your brain, I know what's happening. The other thing you can do is you need to highlight your value because you're valued beyond this thing. So when you highlight your value that will be outside of this thing, you have the ability then to change the emotions behind it, what's happening in your body. And then the other thing is that you can give your body another sensory piece of information that signals to your body, it's all right, you're safe here. So like some of the stuff that you can do that signals to the body that it's okay, you're safe here, is take a cold drink, listen to music, hum, deep breath, sigh, yawn, slow rhythmic movements that you do in a pattern, pray, worship. These things signal to the brain, it's all right, we're safe now, you can chill out. So when we're in a moment where we're going to be stuck at mercy, we need to think of all these things that will help us overcome this fear and go, I'm going to keep going, because there's so much more. There's so much more. The fear of not having control or not being enough by our peers is really scary, but it's okay to be here. It's okay to not have the knowledge in an area while you're learning, because information transfer is not the same as transformation. While you are being transformed, it is not the same as you are lacking all the information. It's just been transferred. Knowledge about God is not the same as knowing God. So if there's an area and you're like, I don't know, if you want to realize how much you don't know, go in and teach substance, because they ask you questions and you're like, whoa, I couldn't tell you. And you have to get really good at saying, I don't know that, but I'm going to try find out. It doesn't affect how much I know God. Okay. Many of us genuinely receive God's mercy, and we believe that our sins are forgiven, really. But then we struggle to walk in grace that actually changes us. It actually changes how we live. Sometimes it's in fear of looking messy or uncertain or not valued. But when I see someone looking messy, uncertain, I'm in awe of them. Because I'm looking at them going, wow, they are walking out of God's transformation. They are not only brilliant at this position with God, but they're trying a new one. And they're like, what is God going to unlock when they do that? We need to be in awe of these people that are just figuring it out. So I want to look at David, right? So David used a slingshot and took down Goliath. Yeah? That's really cool. When he took down Goliath, he could have been the slingshot guy, right? Could you imagine the word, because word would have spread by mouth, there was no mobile phones, nobody videoing David going, here, let that go viral, right? It would have spread by mouth, and they would have been, probably didn't know his name, and they would have been like, the slingshot guy, this little one, went with a slingshot and took down that big giant. And they were like, who? And then it would have passed on the slingshot guy. And imagine David coming back, yep, that's me. I'm slingshot guy, right? I'm going to own that. I'm the slingshot guy. But when everybody celebrates David and they sing songs about him, and imagine him going, yeah, that's my thing. That's me. That's who I am. That's the way I'm going to do it. The same way we do with our ministries or how we worship or how we pray. I'm not doing it that way that you're asking me to do, because that's not how I do it. I'm doing it my way. Imagine if David had said, I'm the slingshot guy. This is now my thing. And all he ever did was slingshot guy stuff. Right? Yeah, he could have lived his whole life off of that. You think, right? The sermons he could have preached about how he practiced in private and he got really good at it and then was able to do it publicly, that his life was anointed by God. Imagine people going, you are anointed by God, but he's still stuck. Right? So he's anointed, you're blessed, you took down the giant, and we're all going to sing songs to you and give you riches and give you all of this. And then he could have been preaching sermons on it. He could have been making more slingshots and selling them. I would have bought one. Yo, I got this slingshot off the slingshot guy. This is an orange, right? So he could have sold them, so he would have been wealthy. And then he could have ran workshops on how to get the perfect technique. He could have rode that wave. He really could have. But if you root in Samuel, never again is the slingshot mentioned. Never once. Can't find it. I searched. You can't find it. So he did this epic thing, that's what I'm the slingshot guy, and then he put it down and never used that weapon again. He put it down and never used that skill again. Because the mercy got him that far, but he wanted more. And he was not afraid to overcome that feeling of being, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, imagine leading people into your first battle and being like, lads, go. Like, imagine the fear. I forgot my sling. But I trained all he used. Like, imagine the fear he had to overcome, but he did. And then he did battles, he had highs, he had lows, he saved people, he became king, and he gave Mephibosheth a seat at his table and gave him his grace. If he had instead the slingshot guy, that wouldn't have happened. So he would have never grown into his calling that God had for him if he had instead the slingshot guy. The sling was for a moment, was not his identity. Where we are an expert right now is not our identity. It's not the lane you're meant to stay in, because God has so much more. And like, David's life would have been great, and he would have still loved God very much if he stayed where he was. I'm not saying that if we stay stuck that we don't love God or that we're not anointed, but God has so much more. When mercy is coupled with grace, there is more than enough for you. Sometimes we do the exact same thing. So we have a breakthrough moment, God shows us mercy, he forgives us, and then we build our whole Christian life around that moment. But mercy was never meant to be the finish line. Mercy forgives you, but grace moves you forward. Some Christians stop at the moment God forgives them and celebrate it. But grace was never meant to just forgive you. Grace was meant to transform you. Mercy says you are not punished, but grace says, now come and sit at the king's table. Mercy removes the past, but grace creates the future. Don't stay the slingshot guy. Look at so much more that David did. Like, how many Psalms have we read this morning already? How many lessons have we learned from David? How much more did he give? So don't stay at your first victory. Don't stay at your first breakthrough. Don't stay where you feel like the expert. Because God didn't show you mercy so that you could survive. He gave you grace so that you could grow. Mercy forgave you. Grace is calling you forward. So don't stay where you're rescued. Step into where your calling is and your purpose is. There is so much more. We sing it all the time. We sing, he's not done with me yet. He's not done with me yet. There's so much more to discover. Yes, so there's more areas. If you are serving in this area, try this area. Step into something random. Do something different. Because mercy is the beginning, but grace is the journey. Let's pray. Jesus, I want to thank you for the mercy and the forgiveness that you have shown us. Lord God, that you have wiped away the sins of our past. That you have done this for me so that I could move closer to you. Jesus, you took my place. Now I ask you to make me brave to overcome the scary moments when I feel like I'm losing my value or my value is being questioned. That my knowledge is not enough, or my wisdom is not enough, or I'm not able to do the task at hand. Please allow me to overcome them moments and walk in grace and partner with you so I don't become the slingshot guy, because you have so much more for me.